down and listen to records. Smell the cover, read all the verses. Tell me about your favorites on vinyl and vision.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. I am your host, Jimmy Drab, and my guest tonight, as you could see from the button you've just pressed to get here, is Eric Paul. Eric Paul is the singer of currently the band Psychic Graveyard. I did have the full-length record. I just forgot to bring it with me when I went to go have my interview with Eric. But that's their debut full-length record, which is an amazing record. You should go pick it up. And I also got the new EP. It's the new release from Psychic Graveyard. 5 tracks. You can find a digital download of this if you'd like, anywhere that you can find music. This is also a great record, and you are currently listening to the 19th Circuit off of this EP. If you're streaming this, if you're watching the video, then you're actually going to catch a little clip of video footage I took from them live at AS220 in Providence, also with Oceans of the Moon, and a new band locally, Alpha Error, who's very cool. You should check them out. Oceans of the Moon with Rick Pelletier, former guest of the show, which is also awesome. Check them out as well. So much to get into. Eric has had a very lengthy career doing music and poetry, so there's so much to get into. I just hope I did my best getting it all in this hour. Very little to no edits on the audio stream. And the video stream is also very, very few edits. I found our conversation to be compelling enough and just kind of insightful enough that there was really nothing I wanted to kind of cut out. So if you like to listen, anywhere you find audio streams, there it is. Here it is. You're listening to it now. Ta-da! Video stream on YouTube. Just a couple things I want to say really quickly is that I appreciate everyone coming and listening and tuning into all the episodes. I do not ask for money to help promote this show or help fund this show. I run a business. That's how the show got started, was me doing my record resale business. So links are in the home pages of either of those, either of the formats that you're watching or listening to now. And I please just ask you, hey, go buy a record for me, okay? I'll get it out to you. I hope you'll enjoy it. And that way, you buying a record from me helps me out. You buying these records from Eric helps him out. And we really appreciate it. So enjoy the show. Thanks for tuning in. Please do all the things that you do with the internet. Like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever it is you like to do. Well, we'll see it. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Enjoy this talk. That Rick is so cool because I never knew him very well. I still don't know him very well, but I feel like Rick has like this Keith Richards thing about him.
Mm-hmm. He's mystical.
He's mystical, but he also kind of looks like him. He holds himself kind of in that same manner. He's like just kind of like this.
He's lived as many lives as Keith Richards.
Yeah,
I've seen it firsthand.
I bet. Yeah. How did that get started anyway? As far as you guys being involved in the Chinese Stars together?
I think. Well, Craig and I wanted to start a band, so then Craig wanted a bass player because we had not played with the bass player in so long.
Right.
And our first thought was Rick. It was literally because Craig and I have been worshiping Rick and Six Finger Satellite since we were literally in high school.
Yeah.
So we thought of Rick first, and then we were fans of La Machine, so he was occasionally doing these La Machine shows. And what we really liked about what he was doing with La Machine was that he was actually tapping into this jaw wobble bass sound, or even more like dub music, like King Tubby style bass lines, and we just love that. And that's Craig was like, this is what I want to, play with. And obviously, like you're just around him, and he's a magical person, so you just kind of want to play music with him. And he wasn't doing too much at the time, and then we had reconnected recently because he was helping us get a couple singles for the Arabun Radar stolen singles. Yep. So we were kind of like at his house a little bit. He was actually living with Ben McCosker at the time, and we would just be there or getting some singles from Ben, and we would hang out with Rick, and then it just kind of came up naturally and said, hey, what are you doing for the next few years? And he was like, we were psyched. We didn't think he'd say yes. I don't know why. We just didn't think he would.
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of started.
He along with you, I think, and the members of Arab on Radar, I feel like have always been these unapproachable types. Like, because you take...
Weird.
Well, I mean, because when I first met you, I mean, I guess... I don't remember where we first met, but we ended up working together briefly. And so that was cool because I was like, oh, now I can actually get to hang out with him for a little while and actually kind of pick his brain. And now I don't have to feel... No, well, now I didn't have to feel awkward because I didn't even know your band at the time. Because you invited me to your show at the Columbus.
Oh, that's right.
Which was the first experience I had with Arab on Radar, and it was amazing.
Yeah, we were very worried about that show.
Why?
No one had a show there before. Up until that time, they were showing adult films there.
Right.
And I was dating this woman who actually lived in the property. There's some rental properties that had touched the Columbus. Yeah. Oh. So we were dating there, and she was getting a reduction in her rent because she was helping them with their website or something like that. And I said, do you ever think he'd ever entertain the idea of us having an event here? And she approached him with it. And at first he didn't, I think his name was John. He couldn't wrap his brain around it at first. But then after a few times, I said, I can promise this many people, you'll make this much money. So I was so stressed out because I had made him this promise that 300 people would be there.
Yeah.
So then I put the best possible bill that I could put together, and then just stressed out about it. And, and I was like, what if no one comes? And this guy's all bummed out and stuff. So that's why I think I told I invited my family, everybody I knew. I was like, please just come to this one show so I don't fail this man.
Yeah.
And then we had it, and it was great. There ended up being 280 people or something like that. And he was so ecstatic. Yeah. And it sort of set a precedent for him for it to be, what it is now, which it's amazing when going there now.
Yeah. I think somebody else has ownership of it, or...
Oh, really?
I think so. I'm not too clear on the story, but I know the guys in the Low Anthem and somebody that they went to school with, I think, from Brown University.
Oh, okay.
Now owns it.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that John got a little... I'm 98% sure his name was John. And then his son was involved, and I know for a while his son was doing a lot of it, and then it kind of went dormant for a while, and then I think, from what I know, Tom Wayman revitalized it, and it kind of made it. He started booking there, I guess, and that's kind of when it came to be what it is now, which is a beautiful, consistent venue.
Right.
But back in the day, it was literally, and I remembered we got a lot of trouble for having a show at a place that showed X-rated movies.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even that it wasn't zoned for live music. It's just that.
No, there was some cultural animosity towards us for bringing money into a place that exploited women, and we didn't really think about it at that time that way. We just maybe we were being too naive, but we just saw this beautiful theater, and we viewed it as, this is a shame that that's all that happens here.
Right.
We didn't think of it as we're making money for a place that exploits women. We didn't really think of it that way, but there were some people in town that were pretty upset at us about it.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you guys kind of have that struggle constantly.
Always. And I think that's why when we were involved with it, they'd already sort of taken our lyrics, our band name, all the stuff that people were always angry at us for. And then they said, oh, great, now they're doing this, which we didn't really see it that way. But again, I think that was every decision I made in my 20s.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense because we've talked about this before a little bit where, now as adults, I'm 39, you're a little older than I am now.
44. 45, 44.
And so now that we're in these adult lives and we're, matured and grown up and all this stuff, and then we have all these responsibilities, you have a child now, you have a family, you have this beautiful house, you're not fucking around anymore. You're not just some stoned kid wandering the streets all day, every day. So with that being said, we were talking, I don't know, last year or something, or maybe almost 2 years ago. And you were telling me some story about you guys performing at that breast cancer awareness
Oh yeah,
benefit show.
yeah, that was awful.
Right. But so people still hold you accountable for these things, and it's like your music kind of has something to do with that because it puts this image in people's mind of what to expect from you.
Anyway, so where were we? We get back to.
Well, so we were talking
we were on
about
something fun.
Things.
Oh no, we weren't. It was
being
not fun.
misinterpreted.
Yeah, it was the breast cancer thing. Let's not talk about that.
Well, I mean, no, we don't have to go into detail, but the emphasis was on how.
Yeah.
I think that you and your lyrics get misinterpreted, and you get kind of like painted into this box where nobody who knows you personally or even knows the band well will just say like, well, these guys are just some misogynistic or sexist or just kind of
maniacs.
Yeah, you're just maniacs in general.
Yeah, and I think the breast cancer thing was me in my own way trying to raise awareness, but it was also a huge responsibility to ask of me because I was like, I don't know how to do this. Right. And they asked me, so I did it in my own stupid way.
Right.
And it was meant as a joke, but it's like everything else. It didn't come off well, but I wish I didn't say it.
Right. And so that goes along with everything, including, the show at the Columbus and kind of feeling so much pressure for it.
To me, the breast cancer thing was really that was stupid, Eric. But the Columbus, I felt like, why would we not have a cool cultural event in a beautiful building that has this beautiful cultural past? Like, to me, that one was a little intense that people were angry at us about it.
Right.
But you just kind of have to do it. And people always find reasons to be angry at you.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially that band. That's what I think was the problem, was that people that didn't love you guys because of either the performance or because of the actual music. Yeah. It was like people that don't understand it, you fear what you don't understand.
Yeah.
And with that being said, it's just like, well, these bands called Arab on Radar. What the fuck is that supposed to say?
Yeah.
And then, and then you look into the lyrics and it's just like, well, he's talking about all this like, drug use and sex and and it sounds, something that a good wholesome person doesn't want their children exposed to type thing, and I guess that's how that kind of happens.
What was so funny though about the name of the band is it wasn't quote unquote racist for a really long time. And then suddenly, like everything else, that because of the geopolitical situation, that then it took on a new meaning. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, when we came up with the name 94, 95 or something like that, like, there was no, I think the only event that had sort of happened was we had invaded or we had protecting Kuwait at that point. And there was the war that George H.W. Bush had involved us in.
Right.
But there wasn't that much, I don't know, like awareness about the word. It wasn't, I don't know how to explain this, but it didn't have that like trigger. The word Arab in 1994. I mean, honestly, it was mostly inspired by The Stranger by Albert Camus. I love and loved The Stranger, and I remembered loving the word Arab from just a simply just appreciating a word. Yeah. And I just loved the word so much. And then it was just pieced together that way. Right. So it was kind of random in a lot of ways, and it didn't mean anything in 1994. And then suddenly when things shifted and we became, rhetoric, who do we hate now? Well, now it's got to be them, so we can blow them up. And then, how they just, who do we hate today? Who do we blow up today? Kind of thing. So then, people that were mindful of the phrase Arab on Radar, and they should have been, this could be perceived as very strange, like almost like you suddenly are these right wing and you want to put Arabs on radar, and it changed, but
even the association with the war being like Arab on radar. What does that mean? Is that it's a military stance? Are you kind of talking like militaristic?
Yeah. Had like almost like once that issue became, or we became, or the public became more aware of how much horrible shit we were doing in the Middle East, the tone of the word Arab on Radar or the tone of the word Arab changed. Arab on radar took on a new meaning. But literally, it was, we liked the way it looked. It was almost like a palindrome.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those things that were like, yeah, that sounds odd, mysterious, and it has a nice ring to it, and I love The Stranger. You know what I mean? It was so innocent, the decision, but then it obviously snowballed. And
so that's just been your fault. Your whole career is just like being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or saying the wrong thing, or having the wrong ideas.
I mean, I definitely take responsibility for a lot of crazy stuff I said, though.
Well, I mean,
but I know what you mean. Yeah. I think that I was very careless. And it was just from a point that it's just who I was at the time. I was living carelessly. I was completely out of my mind. I was just,
as all young people are, really.
Yeah, and I was just making a lot of dangerous decisions. And looking back on it now, like you were talking about earlier, I understand the weight of my words now, but at the time I didn't.
More so than ever now.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, I didn't even think anyone would even listen to our band. It was literally we were writing for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like no one's going to hear this anyway.
Yeah.
And then when people started to hear it, it became oh shit.
Right.
You know.
And then you start seeing pushback from people about certain things.
Yeah.
Or
And I think it was kind of right that they did. It was kind of nice because I made a lot of decisions. I think if I changed a lot of the pronouns in those lyrics, it would have had a very different meaning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't very courageous then. I mean, a lot of it was about my trauma as a childhood trauma and sexual assault and all of the stuff that I experienced as a kid. But I didn't have enough courage to kind of completely come out public about it.
Yeah.
So I kept singing as I would adapt these different points of view. So it seemed like I was taking like a vile or callous approach. So instead of saying, you know, I would say like I blah 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 but it was actually somebody else. So he actually did it.
Right.
But I would say because I just wanted that vile feeling. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes with all writing in general, especially in poetics, is that you're in fact creating a story, and it doesn't have to necessarily be what's that word? What's the word for that when it's all about yourself?
First person narrative.
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be
autobiographical.
Autobiographical, exactly. You know, it's just like, and I know that some people think about music being like, well, from a singer, like from when you're listening to music, whoever's writing those words, whoever's singing those words, that's their perspective. That's them speaking about themselves. When in fact, it doesn't necessarily have to be.
No, it doesn't. But no, I mean it's funny because I you know, as a college professor, that's one of the things that I have to tell all my first, second year poetry students. The speaker is not always the poet. You know, the poet can be whoever they choose to be in any given poem.
Yeah.
So when you're referring to it or discussing it, it's the speaker said this, the speaker believes this, the speaker is doing this. It's not always the poet is doing this. There has to be that disconnect. And I didn't really know what I was doing when I was writing a lot of those lyrics. I was literally just getting them out, some sort of emotional bloodletting of sorts. But looking back on it, I always, now that I know more about writing, I was like, geez, if I just changed the perspective slightly, it wouldn't have been as inflammatory.
Right. But then another thing I was thinking about when it comes to poetics is that imagery from words. You know, like I don't want to like pinpoint any kind of lyric from you exactly, but how you were saying, like, it's not necessarily autobiographical. It's not necessarily the writer speaking directly about their own experience, creating a story, but then like the imagery that the words have. Because like I was doing this, I was listening to your music, listening to a lot of it from all the bands, Arab on Radar, Doomsday Student, Psychic Graveyard, all of it, and I love all the music. The music has a certain feel to it, and I'm not a lyric person. So when I listen to music, lyrics and the songs and the singing is kind of like another instrument. You know, it's just another layer that creates the song. And I've heard the words. You know, I can sing along to a degree. I don't sing along with your songs, but I mean, I know the words and like, so
they play in your head
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah.
But reading the words, because I got your new book, which I should probably pull out, but it's right over there. It's a retrospective on all your lyrics, and so I was reading along with all the lyrics without the music.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, this shit is, it makes me think, it puts an image in my head.
Yeah.
And all of it is typically like of a like dark and seedy, murky image. Like if I were an artist, this would all be like kind of like bleak and grotesque. And I mean, and it's beautiful because I can appreciate what that is. You know, I mean, like where we were saying beforehand, where people call you out on whatever kind of content they think your band is trying to push, whatever agenda it is. I think the ability to do that is just beautiful in general. It's a beautiful art.
I think that's accidental, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I do is just very self-serving. It's just about it's writing and music is just a way for me to get through the shit I get through, and I don't ever think about its result or how it sometimes will be.
Yeah. Not the perception that it's gonna, how it's gonna land with somebody.
Yeah, I don't think about that as much, but I understand it does that.
Right.
Like I just from releasing something and be like, wow, this isn't going like I anticipated it would go. Like, but I also then I guess it gets a little bit deeper. Like, what motivates you to do this in the first place? And it's always just because even those early lyrics were all taken from journals that I had used so I started seeing a counselor when I was a teenager, and I had trouble talking about things.
Yeah.
You know, I would get in there and I'd be like, I know I have to be here right now because things are not going well. Right. And I like you a lot and you're incredibly intelligent, but I don't know how to start, you know? And she just said, just write things down during the week and then come in and read them. And that's where a lot of the images came from. And they're all memories, a lot of weird, obscured, abstracted memories. And that's kind of where they came from. So once I learned that I could communicate that and get it out of my head and body, outside of me, it felt fucking great. So then that's why I've always just done it. I mean, in the last 3 years, a lot of the lyrics are about my son and how painful the journey is sometimes with my son and a lot of different things like that. So I don't ever stop and think about it in the terms of like, am I pushing people? Am I being antagonistic? I think it just happens. And I just think it's maybe just my approach at self-healing. Yeah. Maybe I'm just not self-healing in a way that's appropriate.
I don't know. I mean, if it feels good, right? And if it feels good and you feel like you've made progress, you feel like you're pushing through those things that's
the only way I know how to do it. Yeah. It was the first successful coping mechanism I had as a teenager to write the words, put them on an album, you know, put them to music, and then get on stage and sing them and act them out with those guys. And that became so healing. And then when there were these small successes that happened, it felt really good, you know? And then that was the only thing that worked. And I tried a lot of other different things and they help, but they're not the one things that work. In fact, you know, as someone who's 44, I sometimes freak out what I'm going to do when I can't do this. I literally don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. That's why I just kind of keep doing it. Right. Because I'm like, okay, what other thing can, you know, does golf cure anything? I don't know. what do I do?
I guess you want to know until you try.
That, right? Yeah. They retire in golf. I don't know. I just don't know. You know, I guess I could just, I don't know, focus more on writing or I don't know, but it's also intertwined. I guess the point I'm making is I just don't think about who it triggers or how it triggers or anything, but I guess it does.
As long as it's working for you, I suppose. I mean, fuck everybody else, right? I mean, whatever anybody else thinks about it, however they want to take it, I guess. Yeah. You know, if you're really exercising your demons and that's how you do it, and it's good work, I mean, what's the harm, I suppose? Yeah.
But then again, you could say that about Ted Bundy, right?
Well, that's the thing. As long as you're
I'm
not
just
harming
kidding.
anybody.
I
You know, you're not
but
harming.
that's the argument that people make against me is that my language is harmful or the past language. I haven't gone down that road in a long time.
Right.
I'm actually a lot more mindful to not
Yeah.
to use that language, and I almost feel like it's kind of exciting because it's posing a creative challenge to myself to capture the same raw energy or raw insights into things without using easily inflammatory language. And that's what's been kind of a cool challenge. So I'm very mindful now of that stuff.
Okay.
But it's tough. I mean, it is because there is in the last 20 years we've seen that these small changes or the things that we've become mindful of, or this newer generations become mindful of, they are affecting changes.
Right.
So it is kind of nice to see that. And sometimes when I do look back on it, I was like, shit, man, I was definitely part of the problem.
Well,
but
part of the problem. I don't know. Like I wouldn't put that kind of weight on yourself. I mean, because think about it this way. So when you were talking, the first thing that came to my mind was like, say you said Ted Bundy. I was thinking like, what's his name? Charles Manson. Okay.
Yeah,
he
was
took
coping with a horrible life. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I'm not familiar completely with his background, but I mean, you look at the effect of what happened, what he did, and where was the inspiration for that? Oh, it was the Beatles' Helter Skelter. It's like, okay, that seems pretty harmless, right? The Beatles. I mean, peace, love, and everything. And that's where this guy took it. That's his interpretation and what he wanted to do with it. So I would never hold an artist responsible for anything. Because it's not like that was the desired effect. Paul McCartney wasn't thinking like, I want to inspire someone to start a cult and kill people.
No.
It was. I just wanted to create the loudest rock song I could create. It's very sincere and honest, and the furthest thing from what ended up being a repercussion of, So, I don't know.
He's interesting, though, Charles. Not that I want to talk about Charles Manson now, but it is interesting that he has been or had served most of his adult life in prison, but had never killed any of those people. He was just inspired the killing, which is it's incredible how fearful the public was of him because of they almost couldn't fathom how powerful or how someone could actually convince other people to act like that.
Right.
Yeah, but he was born. His mother was like a teenage prostitute, and he was when born. I think she tried maybe I don't know too much about, but tried to raise him. Wasn't able to, and he was in foster care or in and out of the system most of his life. So he was basically in institutions from when he was a very young kid, and then those are pretty cruel institutions.
Yeah,
he was exposed to a lot of violence and sexual assault, and so basically his whole entire life he had been surviving. So the whole Charles Manson thing, or the idea to devise this sort of cult leader persona was more about survival for him, not manipulating, but getting himself in a position to survive.
Right. And
then people that he was with just kind of took it and ran with it. So this is as much about the people that he influenced, I think, as much as him. But, it's an interesting, and he has an interesting story.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty fucked up one.
I bet.
Yeah.
So speaking of influences and being fucked up, the record you decided to choose tonight, it's Public Image Limited's Metal Box is the official name, I think.
The original printing or original edition was Metal Box, and then they called it Second Edition when it came out in a more palatable format. Yeah.
Right. More palatable for the record label, I suppose, and as far as manufacturing was concerned.
Yeah, probably a lot cheaper to make.
Yeah. A lot cheaper to make. I don't know what they charged for these back in the day. Back in, 79 was it, when it was released? Mm-hmm. And but this is it, and I was very surprised that you had this because I didn't know. I mean, I kind of asked you, like, well, what record do you want to kind of focus on? And I'm having a hell of a time with this because
you can't get it off. Yeah.
It's like a fucking...
It's never... I mean, I bought this 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago, and I've never opened it. It's just I just have it.
Oh, really? Oh, because you have some...
Yes, I just listened to my backup copy. Don't hurt
Well, I
yourself.
appreciate you taking
I'm
it
going
out
to
for me.
narrate. This is James turning red, trying to open up a metal can with
And
albums
that's hard
in
to
it.
do for me. But this is so cool, man, because I was researching this. I actually had been kind of turned on to Public Image Limited not too long ago, and I kind of started going through the catalog, and I found out about this because in record resale world that I've been living in lately, this is kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, this is kind of like one of those gold gems. Like if you can find this,
Yeah.
and I was just thinking today, I was just like, oh man, I wonder if I could ever find one.
Oh,
And now you have one.
Get your hands off of that, man.
Oh man, I can't help myself. It's so exciting because it's so, I don't know, the research behind records, like as far as like selling them is concerned, is kind of interesting, and it's kind of fascinating to me because of it's all these little details. It's like, well, this is pretty obvious. So it's like, okay, well, it's in a metal tin. That's pretty obvious that like what kind of edition this can be. But I first asked you if it was from the UK or not, because I think they did UK, and I don't know if they did a US pressing of this with the metal tin.
I don't know. Yeah.
Except for a reissue. I think they recently reissued it.
Oh, they
And
did?
Reissued it in
I
like a
didn't
metal
know that.
tin.
Yeah.
Also a CD version of like a plastic metal tin, and like with one CD in it.
Wow.
But yeah, this is very cool, man. I thank you for taking this out and let me take a look at it and let us listen to it for a little bit.
The first time I've ever played it.
Just now. Oh man.
I had never played it before.
And it looks like it was virtually unplayed.
I don't even know if it was played. I mean, when I got it, it looked brand new to me. But I know there was someone that wrote, like I said, wrote in pencil on the insert, and that's the only thing I noticed about it.
Yeah. I wonder actually if that was, now that I closed it up again, I wonder if that was their desired listening format. Because, these records, there's 3 records in here, and each side has at most 2 songs, I think. The first side is Albatross, is 11 minutes long. That's the one on there. But I also read that in the research was that they kind of did that because they didn't want the listener to necessarily listen from top to bottom. They wanted them to have the ability to kind of just put on whichever record they wanted and like kind of whatever song they wanted in whatever order they wanted.
Because that's actually how I started. Like I was saying earlier, I started listening to. I always thought Swan Lake began the album, and always just started with Swan Lake.
Actually, kind of used to it, aren't you? It's fine.
And actually, I don't think it was until I heard like a digital copy of this that I realized
The real tracking order.
what the tracking order was.
Yeah.
I still remember when I first heard this album. Isn't that wild? I think it was in, I don't know exactly what year, but I believe it was 1994. And Andrea Fizette, who was the first bass player of the only bass player of Arab on Radar.
Yeah.
At the time we started the band, she was dating John McClain, who was the guitar player of Six Finger Satellite. And now he does a project called The Juan McClain.
Oh, yeah.
And Andrea and John were living together on Medway Street. And I remembered going over to pick Andrea up for rehearsal one night, and she was running a bit late, and John McClain played this for me, and he's like, you need to hear this album. And it was really cool because at that time, that's when they started experimenting. Actually, it might have even been earlier, because it was around the time that they started mutating their sound a bit, because they used to have very heavily distorted guitars, and they had like dissonant riffs, but they didn't have that sort of jarring sound that you heard on Pigeon is the Most Popular Bird. And it was kind of cool to hear one of the albums that was directly speaking or informing that new sound that they were venturing into. So he played this for me, and I remember just being blown away by this album. And then obviously not finding the metal box, I found this print copy of it or this normal vinyl copy of it. And I just loved it. And this album informed or inspired all of the early Arab on Radar songs with Andrea, because Andrea was incredibly inspired by Jaw Wobble's playing on this.
Yeah.
It was incredibly inspired by the sound of it. We loved the largely improvisational feel of it. And I think, even if I remember, they did a lot of the songs were largely improvisational. They had the tape rolling, and then they just sort of kept the best takes of things. Some of the vocals were done, or I think all of them were done after, but some of the vocals were even improvisational, I guess, even Albatross was. And that was one of the things that we were trying to aim for in some of the earlier Arab stuff, is we would get in a room and just play for hours, and then usually just take some of the best moments and put them into these loose arrangements. A lot of it's because we weren't all that certain on how to arrange songs at that time. But also we just loved the sort of feeling that each one of these songs could just fall off a cliff at any moment. And we loved the feeling of that, you know? And that's, remember one of the things that I heard when listening to it with John McClane on his couch that night. I said, I feel like at any moment, like the drums are going to fall apart or the guitar is going to break a string. Like it just had this tension to it, all the songs, and I loved that tension to it.
Yeah, it's true. From what I had heard and researched was that they had a very limited recording budget, because the advance that they got, they put towards manufacturing this.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I don't know how they did that either, where they figured out the manufacturing before they even recorded the project.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I mean, it must have just been someone had this thought or had this idea for packaging,
right?
And then that just sort of led the way for the whole project. But gosh, am I thankful they made this album. And it was funny because I remember growing up as a kid, you know, being in like the junior high, 9th grade and stuff, and being really into like the Sex Pistols and the culture of it and stuff. And then when I literally did not know that Johnny Lydon was in this band until like 1992 or 3. And then when John played this, I said, this is the guy from the Sex Pistols? Like it was, I couldn't wrap my brain around it, but how fucking amazing it is that to go from a band like that to a band like this, like two incredibly revolutionary bands, whether you like Sex Pistols or not, it was certainly, you know, it turned the earth in a different direction. And this did as well, you know, so it was pretty cool. It's unfortunate he turned into such a grumpy old asshole now, but he really made 2 crazy records.
I mean, I wonder if that had something to do with like the manufactured aspect of the Sex Pistols, because like I mean, punk was breaking, punk was like becoming this thing that people were looking to as being like, this could be a big thing. And they were manufactured along with the Clash, which is also like, you know, mind-blowing when you think about these 2 legendary punk bands as being like, they were put together like a boy band.
Sort of,
They were. I mean, they legitimately like were kind of like had management that was just like, I can make you the biggest rock band in the world.
That's so strange to me.
And so you know, Sex Pistols ends, and then Johnny Lydon, birth name Lydon, not Rotten, was, you know, continues out making music, and he ends up creating this band. Along with, you know, Joe Warble and who was it, Keith Levine?
Yeah, and Keith Levine, geez, he informed a lot of every guitar player I've ever played with has been obsessed with Keith Levine.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Paul Vieira, who's in, you know, Chinese Stars, Doomsday Student, and Psychic Graveyard, he plays a wedge because Keith Levine played a wedge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That weird triangular shaped guitar that he has?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Very obsessed with Keith Levine.
Well, he has his moments where he obsesses about things.
Yeah.
I guess that's the most recent.
Well, it's been ongoing. I guess he's had this now for 12 years, the wedge. Because actually he posted a photo, or he sent me a photo recently of him playing it 11 years ago. So he's had about 11, 12 years.
Wow.
But I don't think the wedge was the only Travis Bean that Keith Levine played. I think he probably played a few different types, but some of the footage that we saw of them, he was playing it. And we were like, more like Paul was like, I want that guitar. I want to play only that guitar. But Paul does have a Travis Bean. But again, it's one of those things that it's that glassy, metallic, harsh sound. And I think that's why the metal box is so appropriate. It's such a great concept because the albums have almost a metallic sound to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like the microphone he's singing out of is like a tin can, and the guitar sounds like it's got, I don't know, these intense metal playing through a metal guitar and intense metal strings, and the drums are glassy, and I don't know, it's really cool. So I wonder if when they were deciding upon the production of it, if this was in their minds. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
either. It all works,
either.
though, so well.
Yeah.
I'd like to be buried with this record.
Right. Well, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But thank you for bringing it on and letting us take a look at it and listen to it for the first time. Very honored. So let's see. Speaking of your influences, I want to bring your book out.
Okay.
I brought this whole bag of goodies. It's all Eric Paul stuff. It's everything.
I'm going to be buried with all that as well.
Oh, I'm sure, right? But you have a lot more than this, because this is my personal collection stuff.
Well, we might have to journey into my basement, see what you need.
Sure. Actually, most of the stuff is from you. I bought this, your new book. That's it. Suitcase full of dirt. Let me get a little close up for the people so you can see it. But, I am very excited to say that I have a lot of this stuff from you, actually. I have since sold off. I bought that for you, the single, when it came out.
Aw.
Psychic Graveyard, the newest band.
Thank you.
You gave this to me, the Airborne Radar, Young Way, the Highway.
I'd like to get those out of my house.
Dude, this is like a legitimate aluminum, right? And this is like a heavyweight metal.
Yeah. But then someone who will remain nameless drew penises all over the metal, if you noticed, out of spite.
Really?
Yeah. He's a very nice person, isn't he?
I can't say that it's a nice thing to do, but I can probably imagine. Yeah, you gave me this too. Your poetry.
Yep.
Which is excellent.
That one's out of print now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't many of them made either, right?
I think he made 500.
Soak the Saddle. This is a reissue, I think, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunately the.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, we have when we did the reunion, they did a new batch of them, and then when the reunion quickly collapsed, I was sitting with too many of those. So
really,
been giving them to my postman has one, and my person who cuts my lawn has one. It's great. Yeah,
really, it's a great bartering item. So speaking of that,
so you need the new album.
You
need the new one.
Doomsday Student record?
No, Psychic Graveyard one.
Oh, I have it.
Oh,
where is it?
I don't know. Well, if you don't have it, you'll leave with a copy.
No, I have the first full length record. I don't have the new EP.
Oh, I can give you the EP.
Right.
It just came out on CD. I guess they're going to try to make a vinyl copy.
Well,
of
you
it.
you really have to sell those. I don't want to start. I just don't want to start taking things from you.
I don't care.
Well, I know. Okay, I appreciate it. I mean, I'll take it, but I want everyone else to know that they should go out and buy it.
Yes, everyone else can buy it, but James came to my home and brought me beer, so he gets one for free.
Yeah, everyone else will be like, "I'll do that, dude. I'll come to you. Tell me where to come. I'll come."
No, don't tell anyone where I live. There will be some undesirable people here.
Yeah, right. It'd be like that John Lennon documentary. The random guys like camped out.
It's like they're knocking on the door. Hey, John.
Hey, I have some beers. I heard you could give away a record. Oh
my God.
That's the last thing we want.
No, that would be bad. Well, I have a very conservative neighbor who has guns, so maybe they'll take care of it for me.
Oh, there you go. Good. Just let, get them informed. Let them know. It's just like there might be some strange people hanging around.
Shoot them.
Shoot to maim, don't kill.
Yeah, just in the leg.
Yeah.
I need their streaming money.
Yeah. Interesting aspect. Okay, so I was thinking about it. Another reason why I want to talk to you is because you had a record label.
Yes.
Anchor Brain.
Yep.
So
And it was so fucking hard.
Yeah. Total releases between the years of 2006 was it to 14?
What did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 or 9.
8 or 9 releases
maybe.
between 4 or 5 different bands, I think.
Yeah, we did a Six Finger Satellite album, a Chinese Stars album, a Horror Paint 7-inch, What Cheer Brigade. We did a couple of their albums, a band called Big Digits, a couple of records by Math the Band.
Yeah.
And Nuclear Power Pants was one of them. And I might be blanking on another one, but
That sounds about right.
We tried so hard, and it just was a constant uphill battle.
Yeah.
When we launched it, we tried to... It basically launched shortly before streaming became popular. I mean, it just seemed like every time we did something, a new... I don't know how record labels stay in business. I have no idea how they do it.
I think it's sheer volume.
I don't know how they do it. Yeah.
I think it's volume for the most part,
yeah.
because it's like, even if you can make, a little bit of money on this project by this band, on this release, whatever it is, like, if you're trying to sell the vinyl copies of it, let's just say, that little bit helps.
Yeah.
The more you build up your catalog, I think it probably would start to kind of like make itself work, kind of, to a degree.
I mean, I guess it makes sense, because for a while, like a year or 2 or 3 years, however, we would get monthly checks that ranged between $300 and $400 from digital sales, and then we would just use that for like label maintenance, that stuff. So I guess maybe having those 10 releases generated that. Maybe if you had hundreds of releases or something, that it would do. But then now I don't even know if people purchase digital music. And that was the thing when it happened, is that when we were making that little bit of money each month, and then we'd have a surge when we'd release a vinyl copy, but vinyl was, was expensive too.
Right.
And then when people stopped like buying digital, and then the streaming took over, it was just too much. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It was too challenging. It was occupying way too much of my time, and it was really hard, because I wanted to make it work. And my partner Clay and I we worked so hard at it, nonstop. And then we had a few unfortunate situations with the bands. Six Finger had planned to do a bit of touring, and then they ended up playing, I think, 5 shows to support the album. And What Cheer Brigade worked very hard, and they were one of our more successful acts, and the Chinese Stars did pretty good. Matt the Band did pretty good, but then we released another that band Big Digits and Nuclear Power Pants, and then they had some some issues in like their personal lives, which made them not be able to tour, and so that was just everything, because the tour sales were like the only way that we could pay back the manufacturing.
Right.
So it just became so exhausting, and I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah,
it was a bummer.
Yeah, it's something I always kind of think about. Like, it's one of those like little daydreams I have, or be like, if I come into some money, maybe I could put it towards, putting a band's record out.
Yeah.
But not a great idea.
It is really, it felt great though. Like I'd only put my own albums out, and it was really, really fun, because I remembered being able to put, being a small part of releasing other people's albums and help them realizing, their ambitions, and it didn't feel as good as releasing my own music, but it actually felt really good to help to be a part of their excitement, and it felt good. And when they had success, I felt as though, in a weird small way, I was having some,
I would say so,
success. So it felt really, really good, and it was really a hard decision to stop doing it.
Right.
And it was, it just was too much. Yeah. And at the time I was, I went back to grad school, and I just had my my life was just getting so busy, and I just something had to go.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was the label. But who knows? I still own the name. Maybe I'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Take a hiatus.
If any of those bands or if any of those albums need to be reissued,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, like how many, like, because I'm interested in the whole idea about like this like pressing of records, whether it be on CD or vinyl or the digital downloads, or well, digital downloads doesn't really kind of fit in because it's like it's infinite number.
Yeah.
As any many number of people will find it and want to download it or stream it, that can be
It's there.
any number, right?
Yeah.
But the actual tangible effect, like how many records would you press for a band? Like initial release, like just kind of like expecting, like, okay, if it goes to second pressing, like if these sell well, like what would you do?
So the Chinese Stars, we just kind of looked at what we were selling on average of our albums beforehand. So our first pressing of the Chinese Stars album was 1,000, and then I think we ended up printing another 500 to 750 albums.
Oh.
And then it kind of, the sales slowed down. And then I also went on to, I actually left, well, not left Chinese Stars, but just sort of, the reunion with Arab on Radar was starting, and I didn't make another record with Chinese Stars, but that's how we decided. We just looked at old sales, like how many did that sell? How many did that sell? And the record label that we were on, 31G, it just kind of gave us the numbers. With Six Finger Satellite, we only did 500, and it sold out right away, and then we were going to repress, but then they had told us they weren't going to be touring, so then we didn't repress. But Math the band, they did really well. So we started, I think, at 1,000. With Cheer Brigade, we started at 1,000.
Oh,
and we just kind of knew what they would be projected to sell.
Right.
But now I don't even know what a good I don't know what a good album sells. Like I think our first album was like a Graveyard. I know the label only did 500, and there's only like 50 copies left or something like that. So, and I don't know where that ranks. I don't know what a popular band vinyl sales are like versus, but it seems like 500 to 1,000 is usually the first pressing of it. Because most people, 80% of people are going to stream the album anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Or Bandcamp it or whatever.
Yeah. I guess that puts things in a different perspective. Like, I wasn't kind of considering that. I still have the old ideology of like, you make a record and then you put it out, and like stores carry it and people go and find it and whatever, or you carry it on tour as your merch.
Yeah, most of our sales are from on tour.
Right.
So when we play, we'll sell an average of 10 to 15 pieces of vinyl a night, and that's the best.
Which is good.
Yeah, and then the distributor will literally take like 30, 40, 50 at a time. So if you think about worldwide, that was one record in California, one in Chicago. I don't know about. Right. I mean, I go into record stores and buy it, but the demographic of 20 to 30-year-olds, I don't know how they, even if they engage in vinyl, I don't know.
Well, I think it's bigger now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if maybe like after Anchor Brain kind of officially closed its doors, vinyl sales started peaking again. But I mean, I think realistically,
they did pick up. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it's also so expensive to make vinyl, and that's the problem. You may sell a lot, right? But I think you have to sell at least 1,000 to make a profit. Right. And
the profit margin's really thin, I suppose.
Really, yeah. I mean, they're about $5 a pop to make, even when you cut everything back, and it's hard to sell
on the
them
packaging
for,
and stuff.
And you can sell them for 15 at a show, but you can't sell them to wholesale for 15 because then they have to mark them up to $25 or $30 or something like that. So the band on tour is the best way, is the most lucrative for the label and for the band. Right. It's the easiest way to sustain a band's livelihood.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is true. I mean, like, being on tour, I mean, that's how you make your money. I mean, and like, I don't know what people think. I don't know what the layman's people's perspective is of like a band trying to be on tour, but it's just like you need money.
Yeah.
You need money to
That's
keep on doing it.
expensive,
Like
yeah.
you put gas in the tank, like,
Yeah.
you're traveling all this distance, so you have to get a hotel room, like you have
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah. That's one of the things that's always been really, after doing this for 20 years, has really, really, really surprised me, is that when we started out and we would get like a good opening slot for a band where they're like, oh, there'll be lots of people here tonight. And we would be main support. We would be getting anywhere from like $250 to $350. And this is like 2000, 2001, 99, 98. And they would be like, that's the budget for the main support or whatever.
Right.
And then, obviously then the headliner, and they deserve the money. They've been working their asses off for years and years. They deserve that money. I mean, they're still probably paying back the wreckages of their lives, by the time you get to that point. But what I find amazing is that even in the last 5 years, I might have to sneeze. Even in the last 5 years, that's still like the going rate for like main support is like $350, $450. And what I think is so amazing about it is how when we were traveling at that time, gas was $1.20 a gallon, $1.20. Hotel rooms were $40, $50. Literally touring is twice as expensive, if not 3 times as expensive, but the rates are still the same.
Yeah.
And I've always been blown away by that.
Huh.
How the certain aspects of the music business have not evolved in that regard,
Right.
I'm just amazed. And unless you find, we have done some, recently we played with the band, the OCs, and John, who's the person, he's from Providence and stuff. And he, as a support act, us and the other support act were paid very well, way above like music business standards.
Yeah.
And I think that's because John is a really understanding
Right.
artist,
Right.
But typically, it's just so strange to me. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I still getting what I got in 19,
Because you can get away with it.
Yeah, it's really
The
gross.
promoters or whoever it
Yeah.
is that make money off of the shows
Yeah.
and whatever. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
they know it's just like, well, we can make this much, we can sell the tickets for this much, and
Yeah.
they only expect this much, so we're going to give them that much.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a headliner, it's a different story. Like the money as a headliner has gotten better,
Yeah.
but not support.
Well, because you can kind of like dictate the ticket price.
Yeah, ticket
And
price.
obviously, depending on the ticket price,
promotion and
then,
stuff. Yeah,
like, affects the total income.
yeah. It's
And-
just a very strange phenomenon that I've noticed, and I'm out there and I'm like looking at the gas prices that are $5 in California sometimes, and I'm like, this is so strange. You get paid the same as it. It's like it's just a weird
Right.
concept to me.
Right. You can put like a whole night's pay right into your tank.
Yeah, just because it's so. Yeah.
God.
So that's why, it's just one of those weird things that I've noticed. It's not even like I'm arguing. I mean, great if there was a change, but it was just one of those weird like observations that I had in the last, especially when Doomsday was doing some support dates and stuff, and I was like, you do the support dates because you play in front of a lot of people, but you also recognize, well, we're not the headliners tonight; they're the headliners. But also at the same time, you're like, it still feels a little exploitative. Like to just, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I mean, especially because you've been doing it so long, it's just like kind of feel like you have a little more due than just that.
Yeah. No.
But so, is there anything else that I'm forgetting that we should mention?
I don't know.
I mean, Psychic Graveyard is the new band, and I've been loving the new record. Been listening to the EP. I've been streaming it, so hopefully you get a little kickback from that.
Oh yeah. Buying a second house with that.
Oh yeah, I bet. This isn't enough.
Yeah, the Psychic Graveyard EP is called The Next World, and the debut is called Loudest Laughter. And we're going into the studio in December to do our next one.
Next full length.
Yeah, I can't. It's exciting.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like a new relationship. There's this, lust to make new music with new people. It's really fun because it's mostly all new people in this project, so it feels really good. But yeah, I don't know what else there is to mention.
Yeah.
Buy the book if you haven't gotten it yet. It's on Tolson Books out of Flagstaff, Arizona, I believe they're out of.
Okay. Yeah. The other book, the other poetry stuff was Heartworm Press.
Yeah,
right?
no, my other books are on Heartworm Press, which is.
I have a copy right here.
Oh,
Hey, look at that! It's a copy of this book.
Yeah, Wes
awesome.
from Cold Cave, American Nightmare, and Some Girls. He's put out all of the other writing I've done. This is the first time I've released something outside of him, and it was mostly just because to have a different type of experience.
Yeah.
And also, Wes is just really, really busy right now. He's doing really well. And, the timelines always get really drawn out if they're busy. And I was trying to get that out in time for all of the dates that Psychic Graveyard did this past summer.
Okay.
And then it just kind of worked out this way.
Yeah. Well, it's great. It's a great read. If anyone's not familiar with your work in general, I mean, this is a retrospective between all three bands, right? Aeroplane Radar, Chinese Stars, and Psychic Graveyard.
The Aeroplane Radar lyrics were unreleased lyrics from songs that we had wrote during the reunion, and then the other ones were just lyrics that had never previously been published. So in some of my old books, it would be mostly poetry with some lyrics. This is actually mostly mostly lyrics with just a little bit of poetry.
Okay.
But yeah, so the Chinese Stars lyrics were just things that I hadn't released before or published. We recorded 5, there were 4 or 5 Chinese Stars songs that we had kind of like demoed, like recorded them loosely, but never released them. And the lyrics are from there. So it's kind of just stuff that, there's no context to it. And I just thought it would be neat to have it in the world.
Yeah.
And then all the Psychic Graveyard stuff is stuff that we released. It's from the LP and the EP.
Cool.
Yeah. And all the poems are just wacky prose poems that I wrote.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, you don't need to downplay it like that. I mean, it's good work. It's very good work.
Thanks.
So I encourage people to pick it up if you can find it, or if you can probably order it online somewhere. Just look up Eric Paul and you'll find it.
Yeah. But there is another Eric Paul that's a musician, oddly enough.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Who's
I don't
that?
like that.
No, it sucks. Where are they? Who are they from? Where are they from?
He's a singer-songwriter.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but I like it, though, because a lot of times my students will Google me, and they'll find him, and they'll just think, oh, my teacher's a nerd. And I like that, rather than this Eric Paul. So
Really?
Yeah. I'd rather them think other things about me than what I am.
Weird. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
All right, man. Well, then I think we're pretty good.
Awesome. I could talk for hours.
No, I would too. I absolutely would. But I know that we're holding your family hostage.
They are in the bedroom right now. Yes.
Yeah. 'Cause, I understand. Like that's why when I would record at home, I have a separate building.
Oh,
that
you
I
do?
can be. Yeah, it's a small
great.
little shed. I mean, but it's
That's great. That's great. I love the idea of that. When I was really obsessed with Serial, there was an offshoot podcast called Truth and Justice or Crime and Justice or something. And it was a guy who was the chief of like a fire department in Michigan and got really obsessed with the Serial case. So he had an offshoot where he did his own investigation into the crime. And I remembered he built a shed in his backyard and built a studio booth for it. Oh. And I don't know why I just loved that fact so much. But then his podcast got so successful because of, Serial and how huge Serial was.
Yeah.
He ended up leaving his job as a firefighter and just making this podcast about unsolved murders.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Wild, right?
Hey, it can happen. It's great.
What's his fucking name? Bob something or other.
Oh.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
He wasn't the guy from Cold, right? Because you turned me on to that, and I fucking hate you for it.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Oh, God. If no one's ever heard that podcast, if you're into the murder mystery thing, that's...
it's intriguing, but very sad.
Yeah, I was just... There was a couple episodes I was just like, oh man, this is fucked up. Like this is just making me feel bad.
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny though with that. I started listening to it just because it was like, on one of the top sellers and just listening to it and I was like, this is crazy. But then there was one episode, which you probably know, where it's revealed what the husband does.
Yeah.
That one I would just cried. I just started crying and uncontrollably because I have a son that age and you just can't help. And obviously you do too. And you can't help. Be like, how can someone do this?
Right.
Like, it's crazy, but yeah, it's definitely should have a bit of a warning, I think, with that one, because there's a long time you listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sets you up for a huge failure.
Yeah.
But you're just like, to what degree? What's going to happen exactly?
Yeah.
But it just, and then finally, like getting the details was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is so horrible.
Yeah. Because a lot of the true crime is like, it's adults and it's never good, but there's something about, I don't know if with adults, it's just, it's horrible, but something about when it's with children, it's really hard.
Yeah. Well, I think
really
that's the parental perspective.
Yeah.
Because like, you can watch a certain commercial and start crying for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just like anything that involves children now. It's
Yeah.
just like you put your own child into that perspective. And
you're constantly worrying and you're constantly, and you're overprotective and
Right.
But I did not see, like, I didn't know anything about that. I literally discovered that by just looking at like bestsellers, and I just said, "Oh, I'll listen to this," and I was like, "Whoa, this is really engaging." And then I was like, "Geez, it's getting a little bit weirder." And then the father-in-law, and he's in love with and I was like, and then he writes an album for her, and I was like, "Whoa, this is getting like to be like a John Waters movie." And then all of a sudden it fucking changes on a dime and you're like, whoa, I wish I could undo all that. You really, I did not know. And I tell people now, I said, it's a really engaging story, but there's an aspect of it that's very troubling.
Yeah.
And be warned, I guess, if you listen to it. Yeah.
Either take the bait on this one or don't. It's up to you, but you'll never be the same again.
Yeah. No, this guy's name is Bob something. He's a firefighter from Michigan, and I was so obsessed with the Serial, like the first season of Serial.
Yeah. That was great. Great show.
And
the following one, S-Town, Shit-Town, was also really good.
That was really touching. But again, I was like, my eyes filled up. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And that surprise.
It's the worst when you're walking around and you're like crying and like, everyone sees this guy. Why is this guy crying?
Yeah. You're like, oh, well, the world is a very sad place and we do have a very upsetting president now. So everyone's deserved to gets a good cry in.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good for you. It feels good. I actually do appreciate a good cry every now and then, but because I don't do it often anymore. I think I just have a bigger problem than I do now. I think it's everything's subsided in my older age.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're less in touch with things because you're more in survival mode. You're like, oh, wait, I do feel things. Shit.
And it's good to feel things.
Yeah.
Oh, Job cried the other day. From listening to music.
Whoa!
I had put on there was a big collection of records I got.
My goodness.
I put on Stevie Wonder. It was what's that double record he put out? It's just like the best of basically.
Well, he also has the double songs in the Key of Life.
That's it.
Yeah.
I put that on. I put on the one side of one record. And it starts with "Isn't She Lovely?" I was just like, listen to this song. You're gonna love this song.
Crying.
That's it's just like it's a song about that he wrote for his daughter.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
not that song.
Oh, okay.
I was just like, what do you think of this song? He's just like, oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Because I realized that he likes the Bee Gees now.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, okay, all right.
I think you have to love the Bee Gees.
I mean, it's fun. It's upbeat. It's just like it's not my go-to.
I know what you mean, though.
But he likes it, and I'm just like, okay,
so
I'll
what
put
was
it on.
the song that made him cry?
I can't remember now, but it was a follow-up on that side of that record, so I'll have to look it up. But because I was listening to it myself on my computer, doing research and stuff like that in the house.
That's beautiful.
And he comes in, and I see him like welling up. He's like, that song's sad. I was just like, oh, dude, it's okay. Like, you don't have to cry. It's like, I
That's
understand.
amazing.
Like, or I was just like, you can cry. It's totally fine.
That
It's
is
just like, it's
amazing.
okay to music does that. Music does that to you, and it's totally okay. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah,
like,
that's why it exists.
I don't want to shame him for crying, because I remember like when I was growing up, I felt like that. Like first time I actually had a friend die, I couldn't help it. I cried to my mom, and I felt like ashamed that I was doing it. I was just like, I'm
Oh.
supposed to be like this man. I'm supposed to like not cry, you know? And I'm just
Oh,
like,
wow.
no, come and cry. Like, it's okay, man.
Well, I guess it's also too special in the sense that, you know, is it okay to?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that Job is on the autism spectrum.
Yes,
and,
yeah, I've mentioned it before.
Yeah, and they have a very abstract relationships with their feelings,
Yeah.
you know. And what's really crazy, and I don't know how you feel about this, but when Wilder was young, my son, who also is on the autism spectrum, did not sleep for 2 years, and I'm not even kidding you when I say he didn't sleep.
Yeah.
And at the time, all the doctors thought it was, you know, medical. They would, you know. Now I feel like it's just sensory. It was a lot of sensory issues.
Mm-hmm.
But and he was constantly crying, like crying constantly.
Yeah.
And there was, I mean, Allison and I brought Wilder to the emergency room multiple times, thinking there's no way a human being is crying this much that hasn't been shot, you know, like what's wrong with this kid?
Right.
And they would just swaddle him and say, your son has colic, you know, and all this fucked up shit. But the only thing that soothed him, and I'm not kidding you, was Stevie Wonder. And we would
Really?
constantly play Stevie Wonder for him, constantly.
Wow.
What was the song? I'm blanking on the one particular song, but
Which
it's,
album? Do you remember the album?
So we were listening to like a greatest hits,
Okay.
and I don't know what album it was, but it was Susie was from something.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
God, I'm
sounds
trying to.
familiar.
Yeah. She was in Pigtails, and anyway, it's
Oh,
like
okay.
that love song.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was like I'm drawing a complete blank, of course, right now, and I think it's because I listened to it like 3,000 times, and I don't want to ever hear it again. But and I'll never forget this. And there's actually a medical record of it, because one time we went to Brown University as a colic clinic because we were so. Like, what's wrong with him if there's nothing medical wrong with him? I mean, now we know, like, it was sort of the beginning of his sensory issues with his autism. And we brought him to the colic clinic, and you see doctors there that are trying to figure out what colic is. And it's like one of the centers for colic in the country. And they wrote down, well, what, you know, typically soothes him when he's, you know, we're like, the only thing that really works is like walks outside at all hours of the night and day, and Stevie Wonder. And it's literally in his medical record that Stevie Wonder was the only thing that would soothe him. And it was so fucking amazing that I'm like, what is it about Stevie Wonder? He's really reaching these kids on the spectrum here.
He's a great songwriter.
I know. I mean, really? That's so wild. But now when he hears Stevie Wonder, he's not as... I always thought, man, he's going to love Stevie forever, you know? Nah.
Doesn't really care for it anymore.
Meh. No.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder and Exodus by Bob Marley. We have no idea why.
Wow.
He would loved Bob Marley. So we would drive around in the car and just crank it whenever he'd start crying, and that's how we would calm him. I mean, it was insane. We were either walking around the neighborhood in a stroller, 3 a.m, 2 a.m, 5 a.m, or we were driving around when we were kind of lucid enough to be able to drive a car, and he'd be in the back just cranking Bob Marley or Motown, and it would calm him for an hour or two. He'd rest and then get up, and the cycle would start over. And that's why my wife and I were like, well, one child's great.
Yeah.
Can't do this again. I won't make it.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have two, and we were done. We were like, yeah, this is it.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's
Sure
a lot.
is.
But I can't wait to tell Allison the story that Job wept to Stevie Wonder, because she's gonna freak out.
Yeah.
She's going to freak out.
That's
She's going to
great.
be like, that is crazy, because that's all Wilder. The only thing that would calm him. I was made for loving you, right? Isn't it? I was made to love her. I was made to love her.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds
Worship
about
and
right.
adore her. Yeah. That's my Stevie Wonder impression.
Oh, that's a good one. Very
You
good. I
can
was
definitely
really
print
convinced.
That. You can print that, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you another really funny. I'll end on this, right?
Okay,
This is
sure.
a very funny thing. So when Allison and I got married, it was like 13,000 years ago. I don't know. 13 years, 14 years ago, we had to pay for the wedding ourselves. Allison's dad helped a little bit, which was really nice. Her mom helped a little bit, but we paid for a lot of the wedding ourselves. So when we were done, we didn't had realized like, shoot, we can't really go on a honeymoon or something.
Yeah.
So someone, I don't know who it was like, if you go on these cruises, they're actually pretty cheap, and you can like buy a package where you can drink and eat, and everything's sort of inclusive, and you can do kind of a cheap honeymoon.
Yeah.
And we looked into it, and we ended up finding, for each of us, it was under, like $3,000 or something. We went on like a week-long cruise and got to the Bahamas and stuff. And I think we ended up putting it on a credit card, and we probably still haven't paid it off. But that was our way to go on honeymoon. So we went on this Carnival cruise line, and it was really, really funny. So at one point we docked in Puerto Rico, and then when the boat set sail again, they had a Stevie Wonder impersonator that was going to be performing that night, but they told the boat, like in an announcement, that the actual Stevie Wonder was on the boat, and people were literally believing that Stevie Wonder was on the cruise with them.
Yeah. And
there was a man that was walking around and ultimately performed Stevie Wonder covers that night that looked like Stevie Wonder in like 1980 or 1978.
Okay.
But this is like 10 years ago, so this is like 2010.
It's clearly not Stevie.
No, but people on this cruise ship were convinced they were partying with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And Allison and I to this day are still trying to figure out, like, what did we witness? What the fuck did we did nobody know? Or did they just delude themselves? I mean, they were eating so much and drinking so much, anything was possible. Yeah. But yeah, it was really funny. And they also had this like fake version of the Beatles' Love, the Cirque du Soleil Love. Oh, okay. And they had all these really oh my God, it was, in retrospect, it was an amazing honeymoon because it was like seeing something that I never thought I would see.
Yeah. Yeah. Typical surreal experience.
Yes. Very surreal, very distinct type of person that goes out and eats themselves to death on a cruise ship and drinks themselves to death. Seeing people passed out on the side, and it was all actually during the McCain-Obama election. Whatever year was it? That was the year we got married. Oh, okay. So that's how long we've been married. The year Obama got elected.
So three terms.
Yeah. So, and so hearing all of the people, talk politics and it left from New Jersey. So it was like basically 80% of people from New Jersey. Wow. It was an amazing experience. But anyway, we had a lovely time. We made the best of it. But yeah, that was my funny Stevie Wonder story. So I just think it's something kind of intriguing that when we married, there was this Stevie Wonder event, and then our son was only consoled by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, listen to Songs in the Key of Life. It's been great hanging out with you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And I will outro on the PIL.
Yeah. You want me to play something?
No, man. No, I got